Hey guys, so today I'm going to explain chapter 2 of my novel, which is titled Whispers of Ice. But before we begin, let's quickly recall what happened in the last chapter. Our main character, Simon, is a 19-year-old boy whose life has never been easy. His father was not a good man, and after his father's death, his uncle turned out to be even worse. Still, his mother didn't give up, and she moved in with Simon's grandfather's house. Soon after, she started having problems with Simon's aunt, and that house turned out to be a toxic hell for Simon. Simon's life was so messed up that one day he decided to end it all. But just then, out of nowhere, his first love appeared, confessed his love in front of him, and two of them run away from the harsh world. For the first time, Simon found peace, resting his head on his first love's shoulder. So, with that said, let's begin the chapter 2, which is called Memory of Nostalgia. In the beginning of chapter 2, the story rewinds 2 years into the past. It was the first day of Simon's senior year, semester 1. He was not scared, far from it. Actually, he was very excited. After all, why would he be afraid of a place where he had spent past 2 years as a junior? And now he had finally stepped into the shoes of a senior. Most of his old friends had already taken different paths, moved on to new places, and Simon, he had stayed alone. Outside of a classroom, a crowd had gathered. The first semester students were buzzing with excitement, eager to enter their classes, and among them was Simon. After a long wait, the classroom door opened and the enthusiastic crowd poured in. Simon walked inside, moving slowly, almost savoring the moment. This wasn't his first time entering this classroom, but it was the first time he had walked not as a junior but as a senior. He stepped inside with calm confidence, a smile tugging at his lips until his eyes met someone else. The boy sitting on the third bench, wearing a face mask that covered his nose and mouth. Just a few months had passed since the pandemic era, and mask culture was still a lingering habit. That boy's, his eyes were just beautiful, and yet his eyes, they were locked on Simon. The moment their gazes met, unmistakable shifted between them. They couldn't quite understand it, but neither could look away. Simon looked at him with curious admiration, a strange fondness blooming in his chest. But that boy's expression was harder to read. Still, it was clear he had captured the image of Simon in his eyes too. The classroom buzzed with noise, yet the world between them felt muted, like everything else had faded into the background. For a moment, it was as if they had stepped into another realm entirely, and Simon continued staring. Then the teacher's voice broke through. All the first semester students, please greet the seniors sitting in front of you. They are your fourth semester's senior, so you must pay respect to them. And all the juniors obeyed. And the teacher then instructed the seniors to leave. As the seniors began rising to leave, Simon's gaze remained fixed on that one senior boy. That boy too stood and walked towards the exit with his group of friends. But as he passed near Simon, he dropped his eyes and wrapped himself in a silent, defensive shield, like he was wearing a cloak of unfamiliarity, and it was clear as water he chose to act like a stranger. That day, something took root in Simon's heart. From that point on, he began going to college each day with only one hope, to see him, the senior from the fourth semester, even if it meant arriving early or wandering around the halls without any reason. From that day, Simon would find some excuse to pass by the fourth semester classroom just to catch a glimpse of him, and every day they exchanged glances, not a word, not a gesture, not even a nod of acknowledgement, but they both knew. They knew exactly what they were doing, and still silence. A calm, lingering silence that stayed between them for a very long time. Days turned into weeks, weeks melted into months, and months quietly passed into years. Yet, what never changed between them was these two strangers, forever unknown to each other, never exchanging a single word. Which means they spent a lot of months staring at each other, but they always pretended they were strangers and never talked. Every time Simon stepped into class, his eyes instinctively searched for that one person. It had been a year since since that first glance, and by now they had seen each other countless times. Simon would enter the classroom, immediately look for him, and then steal secret glances, sometimes from behind a window, sometimes while pretending not to look. But whenever that senior nearby, when Simon wasn't prepared, he would quickly avert his eyes, turn away, as if afraid that his gaze might reveal too much. It was as if their eyes spoke a language no one else understood, a whisper between their eyes. Almost like they didn't need food, water, or even conversation. Their eyes had already said it all. And yet, Simon still didn't even know the boy's name. And that boy, that senior, on the other hand, kept something inside, an unwavering thought: no matter what happens, I can't get involved with him. He had armed himself with detachment, with indifference, and he stayed silent. And so time kept passing. One day, their teacher entered the classroom and congratulated all the students for being promoted to semester 2. Moments later, the same boy, the senior, entered the class with his friends and began speaking to the teacher. Even though that senior was talking to teacher, his eyes kept looking for Simon. His eyes searched for Simon and found him. There he was, sitting in the front row. They kept exchanging glances, looking away quickly over and over again. This began to happen more often. The boy would show up, talk to the teacher, but his attention would always drift towards Simon. And as usual, the one day the boy entered the classroom again, he glanced towards the first row, but today Simon wasn't there. For the first time, a hint of worry flickered in his eyes. He kept looking around, scanning the room, his gaze restless, as if searching for someone. His eyes revealed quiet disappointment, and then suddenly he spotted Simon. Today, Simon had taken the last bench, and once again their eyes met. Simon, as always, was only looking at him, but the moment the boy found him sitting there, his expression changed. He quickly looked away, finished his conversation with the teacher, and left the classroom in a hurry, as if something had caught him in the act. Summer was approaching, and with it come the announcement of short vacation, but no one seemed particularly happy about it. After all, pandemic had already disrupted their studies severely, and another break could set them back even further. While the entire class buzzed about the upcoming holidays, Simon's mind was elsewhere. He wasn't worried about academics. He was troubled by something more personal, the fact that he wouldn't get to see him, his senior, for several long weeks. As Simon sat lost in thoughts, a group of his friends approached him. "You are the class representative, huh?" one of them said. "Try to get the break cancelled. If we take more holidays, it will affect our academics." Strangely, the idea appealed to Simon, not just for the sake of studies, but for another reason entirely. It was a perfect solution, two birds with one stone. Without wasting time, Simon rallied his classmate and approached the teacher with proposal. Instead of taking a break, why not continue with extra classes? Impressed by their dedication, the teacher agreed, and just like that, their summer vacation was replaced with additional study sessions. Days passed quietly and uneventfully. By now, it had been nearly a year and a half since Simon first saw him. Yet, still, whenever they crossed paths, they would steal glances and quickly look away, like strangers trapped in a silent, invisible conversation. Neither of them had yet spoken a word. Neither of them even know each other's name. And time, relentless as ever, kept slipping away. But then, one day, the college announced something new: combined classes. These classes would include both juniors and seniors together. Simon's heart skipped a beat, but destiny is always one step ahead, had its own plans. On the very first day of the combined classes, Simon ran late. He rushed off the bus, sprinted towards his building, and quietly slipped through the back door of his lecture hall. Trying not to draw attention, the class had already begun. He scanned the room and slipped into a seat at the back. His heart was pounding. He had no idea that today, of all days, something unexpected was waiting for him, something none of them could have predicted, because no one escapes from the threats of fate. And when fate decides to bring two people together, it will find a way. A few minutes into the lecture, Simon's heart skipped a beat. That senior, his senior, walked in, and ignoring all the empty seats scattered matter across the room chose to sit right in front of him. Whether it was a coincidence or an intentional choice, Simon had no idea, but to him it felt like a universe had finally tossed him a miracle. That his first love was sitting right in front of him. He was just inches behind. Simon was stunned. He blinked a few times, even pinched himself discreetly, trying to confirm that this wasn't a dream. For Simon, this was the best day of his life because he was sitting right behind his first love. Is this a beginning of their love story? On this note, I am going to end this video. If you want to see the next chapter, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.